Yeah, probably not. I mean, you said noticeable. So here's the thing. You do need to quote unquote load it. I'm trying to hang the concept off an existing concept in people's mental frameworks, which is the creatine loading thing. The reason why it's not noticeable per se is it might be noticeable in paresthesia, and we'll get to that in a second, but the saturation dose is way further down the road. It's like 270 grams or something. I don't remember the exact number. It's up there. And if you look at what people are taking per day, that's something like 90 days at the low end. So even if you double it, you're still gonna 40 some odd days consecutively. And then those initial seminal studies on it were done in divided doses, pre, post workout, later on, or whatever. It wasn't a bolus dose 6.4 at once. Most people don't have the organization or the wherewithal or whatever, the patience to do multiple daily doses of beta-alanine. So, and you can still reach the saturation point cumulatively with the lower dose as well. So it's not something that works acutely like caffeine, where there's an instant noticeable difference of, 150 milligram versus 300. So I'm trying to be realistic with you. If you want to try it and see if you derive a benefit non-acutely, long-term, then you would have my blessing, and I think that's possible. But when people say noticeable, I think their expectations are calibrated so high that they're like, oh, I want to feel this fucking tomorrow because I took an extra scoop today. It's not really how it works. One thing I'm struck by often is that frequently the topics that are asked like this are discussed on the Flyby dozens of times. And what I think happens is this is why people don't ever learn anything, because they don't want to have the patience to actually devote their attention to something. It doesn't have to be me, it could be anything, and see how concepts connect together. It's like reading a book or looking up the answer. The second one is bereft of context. So you might be able to answer the question correctly on the test, but you have no idea how or why or any of the undergirding principles. So what I'm saying is the people that are constantly asking these sort of questions, if you would actually watch the Flyby, you would see them discussed quite a bit in context, and the context is everything. But anyway, it's the orchic extract, almost certainly. The porcine orchic extract. All right, it is Thursday. Going to table the questions for now and dive headfirst into the Flyby without further delay. Let's do it. So, Flavor Gang, full throttle with their newest offering, Chipotle aioli. I believe, is this a refrigerated? Yes, it is. And this is a spicy mayo aioli sauce, good on burgers, good in sort of, Spanish food cooking, Southwest, as you can imagine. I don't know, I'm not a big mayo guy, but that's how I'll get there, is usually like an aioli sauce, because at least it's not just straight up mayo flavor. That's the latest edition. It is one of the refrigerated varieties. However, in the summer when they ship to us, they're not refrigerated. We just put them in the fridge when we get them. You have to do the same. These two varieties are not. That's SRV, one of the top sellers, and then Sweet Poppy is like a sweet mustard. Some people look askance at that. They're like, oh, 35 cal, 3 fat. It's like, yeah, dude, it's a mayo base. Like, it's, a quarter or less of the calories of a mayo. And then for contrast, there's a hot zero for you on the non-cream based sauces, right? The non-indulgent sauces. This one's 10 cal. Where are we getting it from? Really nothing, right? Just trace fats. So they're virtually non-existent calories. Friend of the brand, IFBB Pro Dominic Cardone used to prep with Chad Nichols, I think, when he got his pro card. Chad was famous. I mean, Chad did certainly a lot of people, Ronnie Coleman at least at some point, or at one point during his career, and he would just wholesale write off sauces. Now, when you're carrying, meaning the calories didn't count, use them, ad libitum, and they just don't count. And this was before the popularity of things like, the low sugar barbecue sauces and things like that. There's people that will go, I got to get 0 calorie ketchup. It's like the old adage about it used to be the natural Intrablast from NutriBio that would have, 20 cal or whatever, and people were like, or it had 5 grams of cane sugar, right? So 20 calories from carbs, and they're like, oh, I gotta have 0 carb. It's like, if you're not training hard enough that your intra workout can't have 5 sugar, like, I don't know, it just probably shouldn't have an intra workout to begin with, unless you're like in a strict nutritionally mandated nutritional ketosis. I was going to say nutritionist mandated or whatever, medically mandated. I lost the thread, but yeah, like these are so negligible compared to some of those sauces that now granted, those were big bodybuilders with a lot of muscle mass, but still, if you're training hard enough and you use the same amount of sauce more or less every day, and you're not just drinking it from the bottle, those calories should be able to be written off pretty safely. If you do want to, you have to sort of pick one horse and ride it. Either you count the sauces, everything, all the time with macros, or you write them off completely, don't count them. And, you know, as long as you're losing weight and trending down, where people run into problems with this is they switch horses midstream, and that's bad. So you can't go from counting it to not counting it, or vice versa, because it's going to throw off your calibration of your macros. We did this the other day, selling red hot right now, loaded protein, Skippy, licensed authentic flavor collab. Pretty good macros on that for an isolate blend as well, despite having the peanut butter inside. Big alpha line order here, anchored by Smurf Juice Burn. That one was back ordered for some time. Smurf Juice, Hulk Juice, Cherry Popper, and we might have some LTO burns left. I think we're out of the Burn Extreme high stim version. We may have some of the non-stim. That was a fun blue coconut flavor. We do have a couple of last month's, they were on the Flyby yesterday, of the Breaking Raz, like Breaking Bad flavor. And then this month, obviously, is the, it's like pineapple bubblegum. I can't remember what they call it. It's like a 90s looking label design. They grabbed almost all the Gains candies here. Glucovantage, Mita Burn, Calorie Burn, and then Cravings Killer, Night Burn. Clearly, this is like, I think, you know, they run that ad everywhere on social media about the dad bod stack, but this is like that plus a couple other pieces that they've included. So pulling out all the stops, we're trying to magnify and increase caloric expenditure while still having a serviceable performance pre-workout. Maybe later in the day or after dinner, tone down carb cravings particularly, and then deep, more restful sleep, but also with an emphasis on calorie expenditure while you sleep. So you can see how you can easily build a system here. Right away, we're at 6 products, but this guy, if he had an identical twin brother that was only taking this, right, and not the other ones, over time, I think this one would get better results. And of course, that's the ultimate metric for whether or not supplements are worthwhile and have utility. But even if you could just trick even if this twin B or whatever gets better results by making sure that he's not eating crap after dinner, right, before bed with the Cravings Killer, that still counts, right? That's why we're always trying to add the right supplements judiciously, depending on your needs, not just blanket answering stupid questions like what's the best fat burner. Okay, I think we've made the point. Here's 2 outright bar cases and some NutriBio Extreme Joint Care. This is one of their top selling SKUs for us, products, and it has the tried and true and sturdy glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, but then it brings other ingredients into the fold like curcumin, boswellia, some of the cofactors involved in collagen synthesis like vitamin C. I'm sure I'm forgetting some. Let's check it out. Boron, I was going to say the horsetail for silica, but they have the silica there. Collagen type 2, we didn't touch on that. And gelatin, which is, non-hydrolyzed collagen. Actually, theirs is hydrolyzed, so functionally that gelatin is collagen. So you have collagen 2 ways, and then hyaluronic acid, which is going to hold up to 500x its weight in, or its mass, and it'll take up in volume water, right? So that's what it forms, like a gel, and that's what forms the interstitial in the joint cavity, the sort of like gel-like substance that cushions the joint. That's also, in part, it's heat sensitive, so that's what's happening when you're like literally warming up your knees. That liquid is sort of like coming online and becoming more spongiform, more squishy, more able to absorb shock. Okay, nice functional health stack here. Biomarker support, nectar we always talk about, some unique lines of attack on cholesterol. D3K2, probably 2 of the more important supplemental vitamins that you're going to have to take because the dietary sources are comparatively rare. With K2, you're looking at things like fermented, is it tofu? I was going to say natto, but I think that's natto-kinase. It's one of the fermented Japanese foods. And then obviously D3 is not really dietarily. You get some D2 from mushrooms and whatnot, but really it's sunlight. So you can sort of know intuitively whether or not you're getting enough of that. But obviously you want to validate that with blood work. But most people aren't, right? In modernity, we're not outside that much. IRE is sort of like a nectar in capsule form, but they are going to touch different things. There's no Arjuna in nectar. There's no chromium. There's no berberine. No citrus. No curcumin, right? So, I mean, the only point of redundancy there might be resveratrol. So, how do we want to say this? The outcomes are similar: blood sugar, blood pressure, blood lipids, anti-inflammatory, little kidney health going on with the grapeseed as well as blood pressure. But the ingredients used there are going to be completely different. And realistically, the only thing in here that's going to clean up cholesterol a bit, Arjuna a bit, citrus bergamot a lot, and berberine adjacently by improving glucose tolerance, whereas there's a lot of things in nectar. Nectar also has Saccharomyces cerevisiae, beta-glucans for immune function. So I like what the customer's doing here. And then my favorite, Astrolite, and my favorite flavor as well, Juicy Apple. New label there. I think they're teasing a new formula Astrolite for this summer. I really hope. My only hope is that they retain that flavor. Yeah, I just think it's so unlike anything else out there, but virtually everyone enjoys apple juice. Now, I don't know if you guys are like me, but all I ever encounter from like lay people, they push it hard at Costco, they push it hard on podcasts and social media, is Liquid IV. I would like to point out that Liquid IV on a really good deal can be had for something like $20 to $25 for 16 sticks. On Astrolite, you can get it for the same price for 45 servings. If you put a premium on stick packs, I would direct you to the core product, which is still far better cost per serving and better formula, but it does come in the stick packs. But we can blow Liquid IV away with less carbs, way more servings, cost per serving, economy, and better profile as well. Liquid IV, as far as I can tell, doesn't even have magnesium, for example. It has sodium and potassium. It actually has slightly more sodium, much less potassium, virtually no magnesium. Again, sodium is both the easiest to add, and you can solve that problem by titrating up your dose here if needed. Make sure you add a lot of water because it's 45 serve. So I get that question a fair amount. Virtually any metric, it's better. I know there's no best, that's my thing, but like we can talk about, that's the thing is when you want to talk about best in what dimension. But here, if we map the dimensions out, it wins on almost every front. So if you have a friend taking something like Liquid IV, direct them towards Astrolite or Core Hydrate or First Forms hydration sticks or Action Sledges. And you really can't lose there, right? But particularly the economics of Astrolite make it compelling. There's a new Myovite coming out. I think they're changing the amount of packets as well as the formula slightly. We are going to give these out at a pretty hefty discount. This guy has them $54 out the door for 2. Great product. I actually have not looked at the idiosyncrasies between the old and the new formula, but this one does a lot of things well. It's a more performance-oriented Vitapack. Everyone was copying Animal Pack back in the day with the 44 packs. That's why you end up here. Take one a day. You're taking the half dose. Take 2. So you have a 6-week supply, 3-week supply, depending on how you consume it. The base formula is fine, but realistically, the fun part of it is, oops, I don't want to go piece by piece, but here's your base vitamin mineral formula. But this is where all the dollars are tied up, and you have a nice digestive blend there. Probiotics as well. You have a greens thing, which again is difficult to get a lot, but they do have some, enzymes coming out of the green family there. A lot of grasses and sea vegetables with spirulina chlorella. I really like the garlic in here as well as the ALA. I take our ALA almost daily. I love CoQ10. They sneak in a little performance blend with beta-alanine, ashwagandha, rhodiola, and guarana has a little caffeine in there, so if you notice some uplift from this, that's why. They have a liver blend and a joint blend. So it accomplishes a lot in one pack. There's no like essential fats, fish oil. It was just a price consideration. You probably still want to add that. For now, until we receive the new supply, if you'd like to get a deal on the old supply, that's Myovite V1, we can say now. And lastly, here we have the raw EAA and the glucose, which is their GDA. Very aptly formed. They don't go with dihydroberberine. They instead go with a huge dose of regular berberine, which is fine. If you equate for 1.5 grams, huge. 500 milligram citrus bergamot. Now, in terms of how that's stabilizing glucose, if you look at if it helps vacuum up triglycerides and protein-bound, cholesterol, which is all circulating cholesterols, and you lower the circulating fatty acids at any given point, you're gonna shunt the fuel source towards glucose anyway. That is, what do they call that? That is the Randall cycle, where the oxidizing of one nutrient inhibits the other, right? So if you're circulating a lot of glucose, you'll burn more glucose. If you're circulating a lot of fat, you'll burn more fat. Grapeseed extract, circulation, liver function, blood pressure. Really, this is like blood pressure and blood lipids too. It's almost like a support formula. There's your RALA. Fenugreek, if it's hydroxyisoleucine, you're going to get some blood sugar sensitivity out of that. They're using Janema, but a very high potency, 25 or 75% yield, and then estrogen and bioperine for absorption. So really the main driver is the 1.5 grams of berberine with the citrus bergamot to boot. A lot to like in there for overall health and circulatory health, which is probably more what they were trying to do. Okay, that's it, guys. That's the flyby. Hope I was both informative and entertaining. This is my staunch, unyielding aim. If you have any questions about anything you saw here on today's flyby, hold on a second. Questions about supplements, nutrition, fitness, life in general, simply ask. That's why we pass the hat and solicit those questions nigh daily. Otherwise, until next time, we are incomprehensibly happy to help, profit to help, unbiased, and frankly, it's rewarding for me, us, hopefully for you as well. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Take care. Bye-bye.